Hey, welcome back. Today we are talking about topic 5.11, campaign finance. Again, this belongs with our discussion on linkage institutions and specifically elections. In this lesson, you're going to learn about the types of campaign spending, the history of campaign spending, and how the Supreme Court has affected campaign spending. This chart should look familiar from our last lesson. Historically, campaigns were inexpensive and short. However, campaign spending has now become a billion-dollar industry. In the past, nomination campaigns were non-existent. Instead of party bosses choosing the nominees, the majority of a presidential campaign is actually spent just winning the nomination of their party. The next question we want to ask is, what do campaigns and candidates spend all that money on? $11 billion was spent in 2020. Where did all that money go? Typically, most of that money goes into television and radio ads. However, more and more candidates are spending on internet and social media ads as well. Those ads will typically appeal largely to emotions, whether it's fear, patriotism, or community pride. Here is the 2020 campaign spending, and as you can see, the digital spending increased dramatically from the campaign before that. There are different types of campaign money, and it's really important for you to know what each of those is. The first you need to know is hard money. Hard money are political contributions that are restricted by election laws. There is really only so much that you are actually allowed to donate to a campaign. Then there is soft money. Soft money is unregulated contributions to political parties that are then theoretically spent on party building activities such as issue ads and get out the vote campaigns. However, they often look surprisingly like regular campaign ads. Political action committees are organizations that are established by businesses, labor unions, and interest groups in order to channel financial contributions into political campaigns. Now, political action committees are only able to donate $5,000 per candidate per election cycle. However, there also exists these organizations called super PACs. Super PACs are a PAC, a political action committee, whose primary purpose is to influence elections. Super PACs can take and spend unlimited amounts of money, and they are independent and not coordinated with the candidate, or at least so they say. Super PACs are able to spend unlimited amounts of money. That is how we have gotten to the point where we are spending billions of dollars on each campaign. There is a long history of campaign finance and attempts to reform campaign finance. We're going to go through a really brief history. The first instance that we're going to talk about is a court case called Buckley versus Valeo from 1976. This case said that there could be limits on campaign contributions, so that basically they said, yes, Congress, you are allowed to limit how much people can give to political campaigns. However, candidates cannot be limited in how much they can spend. Candidates have unlimited spending power. If they have the money, they can spend it. The reason for this is because in Buckley versus Valeo, the Supreme Court equated spending money with freedom of speech. And they said that if you limited the spending of a campaign, you are limiting that campaign's freedom of speech. In 2002, the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act was passed, and it was also called the McCain-Feingold Act. McCain was a Republican, Feingold was a Democrat, and they worked together to build this bipartisan Campaign Reform Act. This is a really important piece of legislature that you need to know. It can also be called the BCRA or BICRA. BICRA placed restrictions on soft money, so it decreased the amount of money that political parties could be given, but it increased the amounts of hard money that could be given. While this seems like it's a little crazy, what it actually did was it made it so that the money that is unregulated was decreased. It also created this stand by your ad provision. If you've ever seen a political ad, you have probably noticed that at the end, there is the candidate typically saying, "I'm so-and-so and I approved this message." That was created by the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act of 2002. Unfortunately, some of the main parts of the Bipartisan Campaign Reform Act were overturned in a court case called Citizens United versus the Federal Election Commission. Citizens United is our final required SCOTUS case, and it's really important that you understand what the impact of Citizens United is. Citizens United struck down provisions of BCRA that prevented or limited corporations from making political expenditures. Again, political expenditures are free speech, and therefore you cannot limit their free speech. This case is what created the super PAC. Citizens United, remember, is what created the super PAC. That is really important for you to know. One thing it did say, though, one thing that Citizens United did do was that it upheld the portion of BICRA that said that you must disclose who is paying for or providing the advertisement. It basically upheld the stand by your ad provision of the law. Again, things you must know about Citizens United. It led to the creation of super PACs, and we'll talk more about super PACs in class. And the Supreme Court concluded that corporations cannot have their First Amendment right to free speech limited, because free speech is indispensable to democracy. In this lesson, you should have learned the types of campaign spending, the history of campaign spending, and how the Supreme Court has affected campaign finance. If there's anything you missed, please go back now and rewatch that portion of the video. Then go in and make sure you've answered the summarizing question in your notes so that you can get a stamp the next time we're in class. All right, guys, we'll see you later. Bye.